welcome to the Upkeep for February 25th, 2019.
That's right, all of the Magic news you need in 10 minutes or less.
The first big news item on this week's show is, of course, Mythic Championship Cleveland, which happened this past weekend. And where else? Cleveland, Ohio.
That's right. It was super exciting. Almost 500 players playing in this premier level event. But at the end of the day, only one could emerge victorious, and that was Autumn Burchett, known as Autumn Lily MTG on Twitter and on Twitch, if you follow them on either of those platforms.
Yeah, really popular streamer and an all-around great person and personality that a lot of people really love in the Magic community too. Just a master with the mono blue deck.
It was mind-bogglingly good play.
I mean, you can watch those games in the top 8 and there's no chance, don't even try and argue with me, that you would have played the games in the same way because you would have lost those games that they won.
Yes, I would have lost every game.
And it's very historic because Autumn is the first non-binary trans person to win a Mythic Championship or Pro Tour, however you want to put it,
yes.
and the first non-male competitor to win a Pro Tour Mythic Championship.
Yes, congratulations to them. It was honestly one of the most moving events that I've been to, and we've worked a lot of Grand Prix and a lot of Pro Tours / Mythic Championships, but honestly nothing has topped this one.
No, it was spectacular. Not a dry eye in the house, as they say, and they especially weren't dry because longtime coverage commentator Brian David Marshall retired from coverage this past weekend as well, who has just been a mainstay, a wonderful figure in the community, so supportive of players no matter their level or how long they've been playing. He's a champion of the player, and I think that coverage loses something huge when they lose BDM.
It's true. And for those of you wondering, what decks were those decks in the top 8?
Hit me.
Well, the one that won it all was Mono Blue Tempo. There were 3 copies of that in the top 8, and it only lost to itself. Because Autumn first knocked out Julian Berthaud,
yep,
who was on the deck, and then they knocked out Reed Duke, who is the 3rd player on the deck,
yeah,
before just walking all over everyone in the top 8.
So it's fair to say, I think, that Mono Blue was the deck of the weekend and the right metagame call. Autumn's build especially, which was slightly more controlling than other builds that people had brought.
Yes, in the top 8, there was also Simic Nexus, which is kind of the flavor of Nexus of Fate at the moment. Azorius Aggro, a more Mono Blue Tempo, more Esper Control,
yep,
which was Yoshihiko Ikawa, which was in the finals. I loved watching that deck play too.
It was cool.
It was great. And
great
then
finals.
A mono red, almost mono red aggro deck, Gruul aggro, that only had green in the sideboard for cards like Cinder Vines. And then LSV piloted Is It Phoenix?
Bizarre.
I know. I did not think that deck was around anymore, but it sure was.
I mean, people took out the arc lights, but now they're back. Anyway.
Speaking of LSV, yeah, he got his 10th Pro Tour top 8.
That's
10th.
He's got 2 Hall of Fames.
Yes.
Essentially.
People are putting him now into the discussion of is he the greatest player of all time?
Wow.
Speaking of the Hall of Fame, Reed Duke, yep, got his 4th Pro Tour top 8, which is widely considered to be sort of the threshold for getting voted into the Hall of Fame. So I imagine when we see his name on the ballot, that will be a lot of discussion around that.
The Hall of Fame is the same as it's been.
Yes.
We don't know.
Who knows? Also, Marcio Carvalho got his 6th Pro Tour top 8.
Jeez Louise. Anyway,
so some really impressive play in that top 8.
Not Simic Nexus. Sultai mid-range was the #1 deck in the tournament, by the way,
by a wide margin.
But
it
no
was
copies
something like
in the top 8.
22% of the field, I want to say.
Yeah.
And then the next percentage was 12% of the field.
Wow.
Yeah. So big jump there. Of course, right next door in the hall, there was a Magic Fest this weekend, which was really cool.
Yeah. Lots of players showed up to play Limited with the new set, and the winner of it all was Alan Wu.
Congratulations, Alan Wu. If you're like, hey, I've heard that name before, was one of the winners of Pro Tour 25th anniversary.
The team competition.
Yes, on a team with a Greg Orange and Ben Hull.
Yeah, he had a 5-color special deck for Sealed on day 1, which I think you've got to go and look at his Twitter account because it looks terrible.
It really does.
But it went undefeated.
Incredible cards in it, but the deck looks overall
it looks
bad.
like a mess. Yeah, so congrats. He must be a very good pilot.
Yes.
To win with that.
And then his top 8 draft deck that won it all was a very good Simic deck.
Excellent. land. It had an
So
ooze in
biogenic
it.
ooze and a hybrid Crassus.
Ooh, seems good. Seems
Drafting
good.
the right seat.
Coming up next, there is a modern product announcement, which is going to be announced on February 28th. So this week, and this is widely expected to be the modern product that everybody has been talking about and anticipating for a long time, that Mark Rosewater says, if you don't like it, I will be shocked. So look out for that on the 28th.
That's right. Next up, we've got CFB is taking over 5 GPs for coverage this year. The first one is GP LA, and the others are all to be announced.
Yeah, so that's all that's on the horizon for Grand Prix coverage, but Channel Fireball has decided to take the mantle, as it were, for a few events.
That's right. Next up, there's a new kind of mulligan that we're going to see at Mythic Championship 2 in London.
Yeah, this is being called, quote unquote, the London Mulligan, just like the Vancouver Mulligan is what we use now to scry. And the London Mulligan works like this. You're free to mulligan up to 6 times or 7. I don't know if you can mulligan to 0.
6 times, I think.
Okay. And every time that you do, you draw a new hand of 7 cards, but then you put back on the bottom of the library the number of cards, the number of times equal to your mulligans.
Yep, so if you took 1 mulligan, you still draw your 7 cards, but if you decide to keep that hand, you're going to put one of the cards from your hand on the bottom of your library. This has obviously sparked a lot of debate. Some players saying that this makes some combo strategies in some of the older formats, which the London Mythic Championship is going to be modern. It makes them very, very powerful.
I mean, this seems like a real fiery cannon ready to go off in London.
But I'm still excited to see how it works out. It does seem like a very powerful kind of mulligan.
It'll be spicy for sure. By the way, it applies only to the Mythic Championship, not to the Grand Prix there.
That's right. Now we have a whole bunch of qualifying information, speaking of Mythic Championships, for both tabletop and arena versions of those.
All right, so first up, we're going to talk about World Championships. This is only going to be 16 players now, so they've narrowed the field a little bit. How you get into this, which is, of course, the #1 tournament of the year, it's the winners of each of the 7 2019 Mythic Championships. This is 4 tabletop and 3 arena Mythic Championship events. The reigning champ, which they brought back, which they had moved away from a couple of years in a row, is coming back. The top 4 MPL players with the most Mythic points, the top 4 challengers with the most Mythic points, and Mythic points are also new.
Yes,
by the way.
Like, what are Mythic points? They're kind of like the new Planeswalker points, but you will only get them at Mythic Championships and through associated events. You will not get them at, for instance, Grand Prix.
Right, and the last event to award pro points is going to be the Grand Prix at the Magic Fest Seattle, which is June 21st, coming up this year.
That's right, and the Pro Club program associated with those pro points will end this December 22nd, 2019.
Bye-bye.
The Mythic Championship qualifying, there are going to be 52 players for each arena Mythic Championship, and still 500 or so for tabletop.
All right, so if you want to get into a tabletop Mythic Championship, how do you do it? You're in the MPL. Okay, great job, you've done it. You get your invite through the Pro Players Club for now until that sunsets. Or you can participate in a Mythic Championship qualifier. There's going to be 150 of them around the world, May 11th through June 16th this year.
You will need 200 Planeswalker points to enter those, and FNMs will grant double Planeswalker points starting on April 1st.
You could top 8 a Grand Prix, so that still gets you into tabletop events, or get 32 match points, top 4 for teams.
That's right. There are going to be still some special Magic Online events. And then if you have 33 match points at a previous Mythic Championship event.
Yeah, or you're in the top 8 of the team series. So that's an exclusive club. But if you're in it, you also qualify.
And that is for the tabletop.
Yeah.
Now, the arena ones are much smaller.
52 people only.
Yes, so that is the MPL. Plus, if you are among the top 1,000 in the Mythic ranking in Constructed or Limited at the end of a qualifying month, you'll be eligible to compete in a Mythic qualifier weekend, which is a whole 2-day arena online event that will take 16 people and qualify them for that event.
Wild.
Additionally, the top 4 placing non-MPL players in each MTG Arena Mythic Championship will be invited to the next MTG Arena Mythic Championship. So for the first one, that will be the 3 winners from Pro Tour 25th Anniversary and the winner of Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica, Andrew Ellenbogen.
Wow, so tons of new information. If you want a deeper dive on that, head over to dailymtg.com. The last piece of news is Core Set 2020 and Commander 2019 have been announced, so they exist in the world. There you go. They are coming up.
There you go.
There they go. They will exist.
And that's all the news for today.